All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar. We really, really appreciate your time. You know, everybody is very, very busy, and taking time out of your busy schedule to come out and attend the webinar is always great. So this webinar is a follow-up to an original webinar we had hosted about our Lean Green Belt training, our productivity leader training. And we're just taking the opportunity to showcase some of our graduates. And specifically in the room here, I have with me, who do I have with me?
Hi, Roxanne Zuck from Monarch Recovery Services.
Awesome. And Roxanne is here today to share her experience going through the training and also implementing what, in her own words, is a really simple improvement. And that's exactly the point we're trying to make today is, you know, people think about getting into this productivity leader training. They think about doing that green belt, and then they get hung up on, oh my God, what does my green belt project need to be? It doesn't sound like a project. But Roxanne will take you through her journey of how she made an improvement in her workplace that impacted quite a few lives. And we'll also talk about a couple of case studies as we get into things of other students who've graduated and made improvements in their workplace, and go from there. So if just a couple housekeeping items. We have a chat window on your left-hand side. So at any point, feel free to send us a chat. And Joanna Gation is our control room specialist. She's our project coordinator, and she's going to be fielding those questions. She's actually sitting beside us, so she can actually touch us and tell us if we need to look at certain questions and answer them. And if you can turn off other websites and things that suck up your bandwidth, it might be more helpful for you to be able to hear us the whole time and view our screen as well. So just to keep you till the end, Roxanne and I are going to do show actually our faces at the end. Surprise. It's like they teach you in webinar school that you should have something to leave you till the end. You're like, oh, you're gonna see our faces. We're gonna be live. I didn't even put makeup on today. So without any further ado, I will start our webinar. So basically, I just wanted to do a little bit of an overview of the green belt training because I'm not going to get in. This is the only slide I have on that particular training because we have an entire webinar that we finished. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you can see the previous productivity leader webinar. But basically, the green belt training is a 5-day training split into 2 on-site sessions. So it's split into 3 days and 2 days. And there is funding available through the Canada Ontario Job Grant if you are a private sector organization with less than 500 employees. In these images, we've got to give credit to the images. We have the Cochrane DSAB leadership team showcased right in the middle. We have Gareth from Dumas Mining. He's the senior HR person at Dumas Mining. And then we have Tina and Bruce. Bruce is here from the city, and Tina over there from the Canadian Mental Health Association. So we got to give everybody a credit for being in as part of the pictures. And it really builds the one difference between what we do and what other people do for their green belt is you absolutely need to demonstrate a workplace improvement. It gives you a very structured way to make that workplace improvement, and you truly earn your certificate with us. So that's the unique feature about our green belt training, and that's where I'm going to leave it at. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Rox, on that one?
No, it was it was very hands-on, and it was always moving at a pace that was enjoyable. It wasn't too overwhelming. It wasn't too slow. It was a good training.
Awesome. Thank you, Roxanne.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to start with our first case study that I wanted to showcase. This is Melanie. Briscoe from Northeast Geriatric Services. So Melanie and Shane, they work for Northeast Geriatric Services, and Melanie is the clinic manager there, and Shane is the physiotherapist. And they came to our Greenbelt training really looking to streamline the process for preparing their patients for and delivering to deliver on the follow-up. So their problem statement, everything starts with a problem statement. And their problem statement was there are time restraints related to the delivery and preparation of follow-up clinic visits, which cause longer wait times for patients and leave clinicians feeling stressed and under pressure. And that is not surprising. It's the reality of most clinics, right? So they wanted to really ease the pressure on the clinicians and also free up time in care delivery. And so then they launched into the explore phase, and they basically explored, what was going on. And the follow-up clinic delivery challenge was explored using a root cause analysis and a Gemba walk. So a Gemba walk, for those of you who do not know what a Gemba walk is actually going out into the workplace and observing the process. Wild concept, I know. It means you have to get out from behind your desk and actually be in the workplace and observe it. So they actually went out, they observed the process where patients would come in, get looked at, and then, leave. And they actually documented this process. So at the bottom left here, you see Shane with her pink pink stickies, and I assume that's the process piece going from there. They did it all on their own. This is not something that you need a consultant in the room for. We give you the tools. Once you leave, you have the tools to do all of these things on your own. And then the follow-up clinic preparation challenge was explored further. That's basically the same part of the same slide. They used the value stream mapping tool in their case to explore what was going on and what were the bottlenecks, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, they were able to successfully decrease their prep time by 50% per follow-up visit. And they had savings of, $16,000 approximately. Really, it's not like they got cash in the bank, $16,000. Let's be realistic here. It's the healthcare system. So they were able to free up that much in resources to be reallocated to other things or to see more patients, so on and so forth. And this was their messy little current state of the geriatric assessor follow-up assessment. So I'm not sure at this point if anybody has any questions, but I'm going to open up the room for some questions. All right, we're going to get to I don't see, let me see if I have any chats there. Because Joanna doesn't seem to see any questions. So, okay, no questions. Good. We'll move on to our next case study. So this is Chantal Makla and Tina Ranta. By the way, Chantal might be attending one of the French, she might be co-hosting one of the French webinars. So we're going to be doing one in French for a case study webinar. And Chantal would be sharing her experience en français. And so their challenge, really, they piloted a project which involves extending direct service hours for 2 hours, 1 day per week to increase client interactions. And obviously, they didn't just get there to that stage without a problem statement. The problem statement was there was really a need to increase client interactions. There weren't enough clients being serviced, and they were trying to figure out how do we service more clients. So their problem statement started with a limited access to CMHA services, and that was one of the root causes. As services are only offered during regular work hours, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday to Friday. I am not sure why people with mental health issues will not don't like those hours. You know, we have to be more flexible to our population. So while life doesn't revolve around our 8:30 to 4:30, and that was a typical problem for them, but how do you go about resolving it, and are you actually going to make an impact once you do adjust your hours and go from there? So they did a root cause analysis. They did a satisfaction survey. They use other tools to explore their problem statement further to see what they could work on. This is a copy of their fishbone. I never like putting up copies of fishbones because it just doesn't do it justice. Like it's not rooted down. Like it needs to go further down into the root causes. This looks very pretty, but I'm sure this is a pretty version of their fishbone that they went into. So they did a root cause analysis there. And then they put in a pilot program because, it's overwhelming. You're like, so are we going to do this? Or are we not going to do it? And oftentimes we teach you the Pdsa cycle, right? Plan, do, study, act. You want to plan to do something, then you want to do it. You want to study it, so test it out, see if the results are what you want, and then act on it. Then decide if you want to keep it or get rid of it. And that's actually one of the subjects of one of my blogs is, and so, we've always done it that way. We say, let's try it another way. It's just trying it. You're not committing to it. You're just trying it a different way. So that's why it was a pilot project. And the increase of hours actually offered the ability to double intake capacity to an additional potential servicing another 125 individuals. So that is pretty, and the average number of intakes, if you look at the pie chart here, that's pretty substantial. The average number of intakes during intake hours are more than 60% to that compared to average number of intakes on regular work days. So that taught them something in terms of their intake capacity and going from there. So without any further ado,
It's my turn now.
Yeah, it's Roxanne's turn now, and we were like a little distracted looking because Joanne and I have to learn sign language because she's not allowed to talk. So we try to figure out how do we communicate with each other. So all right, we'll go from there. So go ahead.
Okay, so just to tell those of you who don't know about Monarch Recovery Services, we are an addiction agency in Sudbury, Manitoulin area, and we serve men and women between the ages of 16 and over who are struggling with substance misuse. We do have 7 programs in the city of Sudbury, and those range from the men's recovery home to men and women's treatment programs that are separate, the men and women's aftercare programs, and then we do have 2 outreach programs, the pregnancy parenting outreach and the addiction supportive housing. Just some information on myself. I'm currently a program supervisor of 3 of those programs, the women's aftercare, the POP, and the ASH. And I was frontline addiction counselor for 10 years at the women's treatment program. And I am going to be transitioning into the CEO position come June of 2017.
So I'm supposed to ask Rox some questions. And I was like, we posted these questions up there and we're like, well, maybe I should ask some random questions to Rox instead of getting into the boilerplate. And she's giving me this look like, no, don't ask me random questions. I am going to ask you one random question.
Okay.
So
I'm ready.
So are you bracing yourself?
Yes.
So you are transitioning into the CEO position?
Yes.
And what are your thoughts? What are your general thoughts on that? Are you excited? Are you nervous?
I'm very excited.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a few months to learn everything that I need to learn, and I'm sure that process is going to be continuing after June. Mm-hmm. However, I do know that I have very big shoes to fill with replacing Catherine Irwin-Sege. Mm-hmm. She's been mentoring me and showing me the ropes in the last few months that we've decided to move forward with this. So it's exciting times.
That's awesome. Big supporter.
Yes,
right?
she is.
She's amazing. That's awesome. All right. So why did you choose to take the green belt training, Rox? Roxanne. And her name is spelled correctly. It is spelled with one N. Because
Yes.
people are like, oh, you spelled her name incorrect. No, it is spelled with one N. It's all good.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's Zuck.
It's Zuck. Yes. Roxanne Zuck. There you go.
So we were told about the green belt training. I guess it's been a year and a half now. And we had just finished integrating with the men's recovery home here in Sudbury. And our staff team actually almost doubled. So there was lots of changes and lots of areas where we needed to improve our services and look at the, the quality of the services we were providing. So it seemed like a really good idea to take this training and get some tools to help us with that.
Awesome. And Catherine had actually, along with Roxanne, taken the yellow belt training that we were offering at that time.
Yes.
Right?
And so did one of our board members.
That's awesome. And so what were the things that you liked about our green belt training, Roxanne?
Well, I did mention already.
Yes.
It was nice to have the focused groups, and but the information was very clear to understand. It was there was a lot of tools presented that you could see, oh, that would help in this area, and you could easily identify some issues in our agency that needed to be looked at for improvements.
That's awesome. And so, if you thought this was a sales pitch, it's really not. Because one of the things as a continuous improvement practitioner and continuous improvement consulting firm, we always have to ask about what are the things we could improve about our training. So we want to hear about what Roxanne thought that we could improve about our training.
Well, I have had some time to think about it. So I know that when it came time to do my program, that because there were so many tools to work with, it was a little bit overwhelming with, okay, what tool do I use?
Yeah.
But having said that, the PACE team was very helpful because I know that Derek had 2 or 3 phone
coaching sessions.
Yes, coaching sessions. Thank you, over the phone, and was able to answer those questions and able to give me some good direction and feedback on where I was going with my project. So,
and Catherine had mentioned our yellow belt training was a little bit of talking heads at one point because it was so boring.
Well, there was a lot of information. Sure, that's for sure.
Yeah. So our green belt. So now we've actually eliminated the yellow belt training from our repertoire of training because it's just theory. So if you notice on our website, we actually don't offer the yellow belt training anymore. There's just a lot of theory in it, and we don't enjoy delivering it. There's not a lot of value to just theory, but very practical group. And so we definitely have. We can probably improve our yellow belt a little bit more, but we've eliminated it for now until we can do a better job at it. And we're now exclusively delivering our green belt. And we have a lot more Lego since Roxanne was in the training as well. And so what was your problem statement? That's your project, eh?
So the problem statement that I came up with was that the intake process for our different programs varied and caused delays in services. Now, this was after doing the A3 and asking the whys and what led to the answers to the whys were, why are we doing things this way? And the answer was because we always did it this way. So that's where we were looking at, okay, can we do it better? Can we do it differently? And what is that going to look like? So before, our case managers in the POP program were doing their own assessments. We have an assessment coordinator. She does the assessments for our treatment program and our women's aftercare program. But the case managers were doing their assessments for their own clients, and mainly because that's how the program started. It was a pilot project, and they started that way, and they were just continuing that way.
So what is the POP program, Roxanne, for those of you who are not familiar with that acronym?
Pregnancy Parenting Outreach Program.
Okay.
So we have 3 case managers who work with individuals who are parenting or pregnant, parenting children under 6, and they do home visits and they support them in the community.
Awesome.
So it's an outreach program.
All right.
So what was happening is that these individuals needed to wait for the case manager to be available to complete their initial assessment. And this needed to be scheduled into their already busy schedules with their current clients. So knowing that when we started looking at the problem, we looked at how long it was taking the case managers to complete an assessment. And it was 1 to 2 visits, which is 60 to 120 minutes.
That's just to complete the assessment.
Yes.
So that's not to do the actual visit. That's just for the assessment piece.
That was just for the assessment. And when we asked again why, the answer was mostly because these clients were going into extraordinary lengths of detail about their story because they had a case manager on the phone. Of course. Yeah. So it wasn't cut and dry. It was, they just elaborated on all of their questions. So.
And that's natural, right? So in the mental health addictions field, if I know it's a case manager that's going to be taking care of me for the rest of my time, I'm going to give them as much information as I possibly can give them at that point. At that point, it's not just an assessment, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So like I stated already, they were trying to fit these assessments into their schedule.
Yeah.
So individuals were waiting several weeks, and then once the assessment done, they were waiting again for a case manager to pick them up. So they were on 2 wait lists, one for the assessment and then one to actually get picked up by the program.
Wow.
So we have a poll question. How many of you have a wait list of clients who need services? And Joanna's going to keep track of that.
Yeah, she's going to start the poll. We're going to see the results of the poll real time. Everybody should be able to see it. Ivan says, I do.
100%.
100% of you have a wait list of clients who need services.
Yes, we're in high demand, aren't we?
It's a popular subject. That's for sure.
So and nobody wants to see people wait.
No.
Especially the clients that we were dealing with were individuals who were either pregnant or and like I said, or parenting children under 6. So if you're pregnant, that's only 40 weeks that we have to work with. And the ones who had children, many of them were involved with Children's Aid. And there's definitely, some time limitations when it comes to court proceedings.
Absolutely.
So the sooner they could get services, the better it is to get those families back together. So this is the process mapping that before we made the changes. As you can see, there's 2 stop times. There's where the client needed to wait for a case manager to book the time. And then again, they had to wait for a case manager to take on their file.
And those are the big red backward arrow things on the screen.
The files, the yellow arrows are indications of files being moved from one location to another, which again causes delays. And if there's any questions, Joanna will let me know.
I had, I think it's on the next slide. Maybe I had a question. But yeah, so just going back to the current state, right? So I asked this because this is really the crux. This is really the crux of continuous improvement. So when you asked your case managers, why are you doing the assessments? What was the response?
Because we always have.
Yeah. And also back in the day, if I remember correctly, your story was they weren't as busy.
That's right. When it was a pilot
Yeah.
project, they weren't busy. Now we have, they all have full caseloads and
Yeah.
which means full days.
Absolutely. And I think that this is at this point is the teaching moment for continuous improvement. Because I always say, this is a really simple example to say, if say Monarch Recovery Services and all other addictions recovery homes and all kinds of healthcare services had continuous improvement built into their culture, it would have been years or months ago that the conversation of, hey, I was kind of really busy this week and I wasn't able to see a few people. And then you would have the same conversation next week because that's normal. That's normal to have what's not working for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then within a month maximum, you would have said, oh, it looks like our demographics are changing.
Yes.
Maybe our processes should adjust, right? And I think that's the part about continuous improvement, like building that capacity, right? What do you think about that?
Well, I totally agree, because actually before we even got into this project, before the Greenbelt training even started, when I first took over as supervisor of this program, we did look at the intake or the assessment package for the POP program, and we reduced it from 6 pages to 4 because there was questions on there that weren't relevant to the program. They had just taken the intake or the assessment package from women's treatment. So we reduced it there. And then after I took the Greenbelt, I reduced it again to 2 pages because we were able to make it a lot more user-friendly with drop-down screens and just a lot easier to fill out. And it made it faster. Having said that, it was still taking the case managers 1 to 2 visits.
And so with the lean approach, what was different about the lean approach? It was something about showing them the data, right? That was it.
That was the biggest part, was being able to show staff that, it wasn't just a matter of coming in and saying, we're doing it this way now, and that's that. It's showing them the data that this is something that is going to improve services for our clients, and seeing that we are a client-centered agency, it's an improvement, and it makes it. And on the other upside of it was that it was an improvement for our case managers too. It was taking a huge load off of their case management time. They had all this extra time to spend with their current clients, with their active clients.
Absolutely, that's great.
So this is what it looks like now. Individuals now just have the 1 number to call. They don't have to call 2 different numbers to try and find out where they should be calling for an assessment. They are the assessment coordinator is able to complete the assessments in 20 to 30 minutes. So we did start with a 1-month trial, and I think those slides are coming up, but where she was able to book all of the assessments that were on the wait list and get them done within 20 to 30 minutes.
Wow.
Oh, I see. Oh, thanks, John. So this is just to compare the stops. And obviously there's a lot less steps in the future state process, which is actually our current state process.
So we have another poll question here. So I don't know if most of you know what cycle time is, but process mapping is a tool to help you understand how long does it actually take you to deliver a particular service to a particular client. So when a client comes into the program or makes an application to when service is actually delivered, actually understanding the times that go into it is huge. So the question is, do you have an understanding of your cycle time for all of your processes? We have 100% yes so far. Very few. Hit escape to see the chat window. Joanna just asked me to hit escape to see the chat window. Let me see. Do you sometimes get clients who cannot self-report but who require assistance? There's a question. Could you elaborate? Elaborate on that?
Well, I'm wondering if so our coordinator, our assessment coordinator, asks them a series of questions, and for the most part, it's just demographics like age, marital status, how many children you have, things like that, drug of choice. So there aren't a lot of times where we have had clients who can't answer those questions. If there was, we definitely, I mean, there's the assessment coordinator is very well trained and is able to assist clients in, explaining the questions so that they can understand and give us the answer. If there's some that don't want to answer certain questions, for example, if they're involved with children's aid, some will not want to answer that question right away. That's not really going to hold them back from getting services. It's just the desire to be a part of the program that would, get them into the program, it started, and then the case managers would eventually find out all the rest of the information needed.
He says, thanks. That's great.
You're welcome. Okay, so that's the poll question. Mm-hmm. So I've already explained this. We asked our assessment coordinator to take on this task, and she was more than happy to do so. As I stated already, it was taking her 20 to 30 minutes to complete the POP assessments.
Can everybody see our screens moving? I just wanted to confirm that because we did have some trouble a little bit earlier. If you could just let us know. 20 to 30 minutes of the slide that you're on. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Perfect. That's correct.
And because of this, the assessment coordinator was able to eliminate our wait list within the first 2 weeks that she started doing the assessments. And those clients were picked up by the case managers.
Wow. That's your punchline, right? That's your
that's my bam.
That's your bam punch. We should have a picture of a hammer there. We'll get better at that.
Now that's not to say that we haven't had a wait list since.
Yes.
But the wait list now is because we have full caseloads, and but there's movement, and clients actually at our last case conference last week, there was no one on the wait list again. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's very impressive.
We're moving.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Assessments are being done immediately or within a 48-hour period. Mm-hmm. A lot of times if they do call, and Julie is our assessment coordinator, if she's free, she'll do the assessment right away. So that's awesome.
And that's the lovely part of it, right? It's just mm-hmm. changing your paradigm now.
Well, if you put yourself in the client's shoes, you're reaching out for help.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting someone on the phone who says, sure, we can help you, but you'll have to wait 2 weeks for us to get back to you.
Absolutely. And with the population too, it's about readiness, right? There's a huge change management component there, right?
Well, there's a lot of stressors in their life too. They're involved with CAS or with the criminal system, with courts, and there's a lot of pressure on them to get services as soon as possible so that they can get their life back on track. So when they're told that they need to wait, it's not always a good thing.
Yeah. So Ivan just chimed in and he said, so case managers are not spending time on detailed assessments, but have more time to provide direct services.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's exactly it is, when you have a hockey team and you have the players playing where they play best, like in the positions they play best in, that's exactly it, right? Yep. Is getting case managers to do case management and direct services and letting the assessment coordinators do the assessments.
Absolutely. So the impact was that, of course, there was no longer waiting to have assessments done. The clients were getting those done right away. There was a 66% time reduction to conduct the assessments. And that's because they were going from 60 to 120 minutes to an average of 20 to 30 minutes.
Wow.
was it Ian? Sorry.
Yeah.
Just said
Ivan, sorry. Ivan, yeah.
Sorry, Ivan. There was more time to devote to the clients on the caseload already and picking up new clients sooner for the case managers. And we saved approximately $39.28 of dollars of
per assessment.
per assessment. So that's taking into consideration the wages and the time differences between those two.
We should do a calculation for what that ends up being for all the assessments. Eventually, we will.
Okay.
Once we get better at this whole calculation thing. And
yes.
Roxanne did win an award, not for the dollar amount of the money she saved, not for your $39, Roxanne, for assessment, but for so we give out 2 awards each year. One is the Community Impact Award for the biggest impact on the community, and it was very difficult, as you could see in the case studies. We only showed you 2 case studies. It was very difficult for us to choose who to give the Community Impact Award to, but we picked the Monarch Recovery Services Project because how often do you have waitlists eliminated within the first 2 weeks of implementation? And on top of it, it was a very simple, streamlined way to do it. It wasn't something overly complicated. You use the tools appropriately, you engage the staff appropriately, and everybody pitched in and was able to make that improvement, right, in the best interest of the clients. And we did actually get a Sudbury Star article out of it too. So Roxanne's popular now.
Yes.
She's famous. And
Ask
Catherine.
my mother.
Yeah. Is it framed?
Everybody has seen it.
That's awesome. And in the middle is Jen Michaud from the Northeast Lynn awarding that award to Roxanne. And on the right is Catherine Orwais again, who is the current CEO of Monarch Recovery Services. And so here's just a general question for Roxanne and for people on the phone. But so how do you plan on using Lean in the future, Roxanne?
Well, I am already signed up for the Critical Division program in November. I thought it would be a good idea, seeing that I am going to be the new CEO, looking at continuous improvement with Monarch is something that is going to be, I think, a really good training for me. And we definitely have other improvement projects that we're looking at Monarch. We're looking at our intake procedures for our women's treatment site. We're looking at increasing our client retention and increasing our occupancy rates. So
that's awesome.
And actually, our board members working on the occupancy rate right now.
Oh, so, that's right. Randy's working on that. That's right. That's awesome. That's pretty fantastic. So in the chat room, I'm just going to check in the chat room now if anybody has any ideas. And there's some more feedback there. I assume the intake specialist was more concise in their delivery and keeping applicants on track. Absolutely.
Yes.
And it's the applicants that understand that the intake, the assessment coordinator or the intake specialist has a particular role, right? That's
yes, and she's very well trained at what she does. She asks the questions without, getting into. She's able to stop them from getting into all the details. Mm-hmm. This is, I just need to know this. I'm not sure how exactly she does it, but
she has her job.
Really
she's really good at her job. Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. That's exactly it, right? She's not a case manager.
No.
And so as a case manager, you want to really pry for more, and you want that information, right? It's very hard to say, oh, don't give me that information, because that's your job.
That's right. And I think the clients were in that mindset as well, that I'm speaking to an assessment coordinator. I just need to give them the facts, the information that she's asking for. I don't need to elaborate.
That's right. That's awesome. So we do have upcoming webinars. This is getting close to the end of our presentation here. We'll open, we've had some good questions all along, but we'll open up the room for more questions. And we do have a offer up right now if you want to register for our webinar, like our critical division webinar that's coming up. So if you want to register for our Critical to Vision webinar, there's a link there, and it's free webinar. You can register now. And Roxanne will be at the session actually, November 9th, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's November 9th. And so Norm, Rod, and myself will be doing the webinar. Is it next week, Joanna? I don't know. It's next week. We'll be hosting the webinar next week. And it's going to be an adventure for us to host the webinar because Norm's going to be in Timmins and I'm going to be in Toronto. So we're not going to be in the same room when we host that webinar. So do we have any more questions coming up from the room? We'll just open it up for any more questions. So what were some of the projects in the meantime while we get questions? What were some of the projects that you were thinking about doing more lean, and like what were the
the biggest one I think is looking at our intake procedures.
Oh, okay, yes.
So making that not as onerous for the clients.
Mm-hmm. We recently did a project with a children's mental health organization, and for mental health intake, and we reduced the wait time. Oh, actually, yeah, we should probably do live webcam. Joanna's like, you need to do your live webcam. So we'll figure out how to do this. There you go. Turn camera on. Are we live now? I don't know if we're live. Can you guys see us? No, we might have to stop screen sharing. Oh no, you can see my sushi. Hold on. That was awesome. Did you see that? It was my sushi. But our webcam doesn't seem to be working right now. But you did see my lunch over there. Note to self, we have to test that out next time that we go about doing it. All right, so we'll leave this going, but I'll just finish my thought in terms of children's mental health intake. You know how you were talking about clients calling in and them getting just getting an assessment. If you need an assessment, I'll do an assessment for you right away. And that's a paradigm shift, right? It's changing your mindset to go, you know what, the client's calling, they're ready to call right now. Can we do an assessment? And that's what we did with the Children's Mental Health Organization is they planned this out, and they reduced their wait time by over 90%. It was huge. And it's a simple transition, right?
Yes.
For them to move from one place to another. All right, so we're not seeing any questions come up. Okay, one second. I'm just going to go back to the PowerPoint. There you go. We're getting good at this. There is our PowerPoint presentation. Right there. Just screen share because we do have a couple other webinars coming up. I don't see the PowerPoint. Where is it? No. I don't think so. But if, hold on, screen share. Oh, there we go. So basically, we have some webinars coming up on, we have executive training, transforming to a culture of continuous improvement. The webinar, it's an introduction to our critical to vision training, and that was the offer that was up on your screen if you want to register for that free webinar. We also have a French webinar coming up, so it's an introduction to lean en français. So I hope I'm saying that right, but it's not going to be Roxanne or me. Hey, Roxanne, you're not going to be.
Yeah, I can speak French, but I'm done with this one.
And we have the productivity leader training webinar. So why do it, what to expect, and so on and so forth. And then the upcoming training sessions, in Timmins, we have a session coming up November 22nd to the 24th. It'll likely be held at the Golden Manor over there in Toronto. We're going to be on December 6th to the 8th, and in Sudbury will be December 7th to the 9th. So we're kind of running concurrent sessions in Toronto and Sudbury in December, but that's a good week to run the training sessions. And we take we only take up to 20 people per session. So it's a very short, tight instructor to student ratio. And we typically have at least three trainers in the training session because we don't want you to get bored. And it runs for 3 days, and then you come back for 2 days at some point. So feel free to register for any of our events, our workshops. We have the Critical to Vision training. And I really want to thank Roxanne for coming out and being a sport and giving us a shot and trying this out for us.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And we sincerely appreciate all of you coming out. So Anne says, thank you, Roxanne. You did great.
Aw, thanks, Anne.
That's awesome. Thank you all for coming out and supporting Roxanne and really supporting the cause, right? Is productivity in the community services sector. It's a thing, and it's here to stay. So if you ever need to reach out to myself, that's my email, or Roxanne. That's Roxanne's email address right there. And we will have this webinar available, minus my sushi tray image on YouTube very shortly, actually. If you want to see the sushi tray again, you can in the next bit, and we'll go from there. So thank you once again, everybody, and have a great day. Jim says thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks very much, Neha. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Okay, take care.